The next generation of true believers, if we don't help them, they're in trouble. Go and look at previous generations. So many generations were lost. Why? Because people abandon their kids. This is how I got to work, make money. But what about family time? What about prayer time? What about logical thinking and discussing? And what's one thing is beautiful I have to say is when you come to America, you learn a practice that they eat together as families and they talk. Okay, they may argue, but they talk in the dinner table. Says, okay, this is family time. We need to talk. How was your day? How was school? What's going on in life? Let's do grace. Let's pray together before we start. People say, well, that's a Christian thing. No, that's a Muslim thing, guys. Thanking God. We always say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the mercy of God, we're beginning this food. Okay. The Prophet has said, and why I talk about the next generation? Because we are hopefully this next generation. Maybe I'm a little bit too old, but forget about age. I want to be a true believer, so then I will be a youth. How do I become like that? Well, hopefully hanging out with you guys, because then you can guide me and teach me, and so I can benefit. Osmosis. Benefit from people around you. I want to benefit like that, and it's an honor that I get the chance to be with you. At the same time, you throw me in the front to be talking to you. I feel sorry for you guys because you're not benefiting as much as I am from being with you. But what does the Prophet say? Each one of you is a shepherd, and each one of you is responsible for your flock, for the flock. Every one of us has a responsibility. One brother just told me a few hours ago, look, how do I become what Imam Hussein wants me to do? I don't know what to do. Be a good Muslim? What do I do? Gain knowledge? What do I have to do? Purify myself? I said, yes. He says, yes, what? Yes. You have to first gain knowledge. After you gain knowledge, you will know what to do, your actions. And once you do the actions, you will achieve a state of purity. That's success. The people of Karbala who were on the side of ahlul-bayt, the side of Haqq, they were pure. I can say, yeah, I want money, power. I will never have joined that side. How many were in the side of ahlul-bayt? 72 companions, plus his family. Nothing. Versus 30,000 against enemies. So I want to be on this side. But why haven't I achieved, a little bit of success and nearness in getting to be in that side? Well, Imam Ali has said there are two things that people who don't recognize the greatness of it until they lose them. Anyone can name those two things? Imam Ali says there's two things. If you don't recognize the greatness of these two things, you're going to lose it. It's a common hadith. Your youth and your health. Now, when I analyze this, okay, if I don't take care of my youth and my health, meaning myself, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my age, and I'm going to lose my health. And I looked at that and it slapped me in my face. Because I said, Imam Ali talks deep. The Prophet talks so deep, he talks to the level of people, to their levels. At the same time, when I say that to you, sister, don't forget the greatness of your youth. Are you only looking at yourself? Or who else are you thinking about? The other youth of the world. The other true believers of the world. If we don't care for others, we're going to lose them. We're going to lose our families. We're going to lose our brothers and sisters. We're going to lose our children. We're going to lose society in addition to ourselves. So Imam Ali said something so powerful that we say, so what needs to be done? And Mutahari has put this nice little book together about what needs to be done. What should we do? I know there's some parents here, and there is no offense toward parents today. There's no offense towards children today. We are talking as brothers and sisters. This is how do we become the helpers of Imam Mahdi, so when he reappears, he will say, come, I want you to be my companions. I need you to be the helpers of other youth in this world, of the other flock of this world, that we do good on this earth to care for humanity. So what needs to be done? The discussion here includes the responsibilities that we have to do, the obligations we have to fulfill, because don't tell me, okay, I'm the youth, I have no obligations. No. Everyone has to take care of their flock, the Prophet said. All of us have that responsibility. Due to this fact, each and every era. The time we're living in today, I have to feel that it's probably the greatest of all eras. Because the level of intelligence when I speak to some of each other, I mean, I'm mind-boggled. I'll give you an example. I met a brother this week who was hospitalized on Monday, and he had heart problems. He's close to 70. And after, alhamdulillah, he was okay. The doctor says, well, your blood is very, problematic, but you're okay. You can go home. And he's been having these heart problems. So I'm talking to him, and, it's nice to speak to elderly people because they have so much wisdom. You benefit from their purity because you look at a child who's so pure and you feel, wow, you want to touch this beautiful hand of a baby. And when you meet someone elderly, they're again so pure. They're tired of the world. I don't care about dunya anymore. I don't care about making money. I don't care about this worldly affairs. What do you care about? So I asked him, what have you done in your life that you're so happy with? That you have accomplished something? What tell me, what is it? Your family, your children, your job, your career? What did you do? Guess what he said? It blew my mind. And he was so right. This guy, late 60s, dying, and he said, you know what I did in my life? He said, I love Allah. I said, wow, this guy has wisdom, man. He blew my mind. Because I was thinking, he probably likes his kids, Lamborghini. He doesn't have a Lamborghini, but okay, he likes his things. Not at all. He says, my accomplishment in my life is that I love Allah. I love Him. I appreciate Him. I said, man, this guy taught me so much in one sentence. So today's discussion is what our responsibilities are, what we need to do, how do we do it. We're being bombarded. My God, you don't realize about atheism. So many of our youth, our adults, our family, our relatives will just say, forget God. They're tired of it because they look at religion and they laugh. We went through these programs of Muharram. Some people say, these are fairy tales, man. What are they telling us? This is not true. It's not logical. It's not factual. They're trying to make people cry and they say these embellished stories. Well, let's decipher the truth because the history is there. History was, especially what happened in Karbala, the truth was revealed. So many people wrote the history. Yes, some people embellished things. But let's decipher what's the truth. Okay, what are the two types of responsibilities people have? One type of responsibility is simply carrying out the act. Okay? So that example is, take a brother who is suffering in Bahrain or a sister in Bahrain and they put in prison. And they send out an email. Please, pass out this email to as many people as you can. Because I'm being oppressed. I'm being tortured. I have no more shame what they've done to me. So when you get this email, you're like shocked. So what do I do? He says, just spread the email. Send it out. So what was my responsibility? I just fulfilled that responsibility. I send out that responsibility. Send out the email. 100,000 people, 50 people, pass it on, spread the message. Okay, I fulfilled my responsibility. That's one type of responsibility. In Islam, that's like salat. You do your salat, the benefits, Allah will decide. You do your fasting, you do it, but the benefits, you don't know the consequences, Allah will give to you. You don't know. Allah knows. Okay, that's the simple things that we all need to do. That's one type of responsibility. The second type of responsibility is which within the faith of Islam is about response. We are responsible of the outcome. Whatever I do, I'm responsible. Let's go back to the example of the person being tortured in Bahrain. He says to you, Ya Wali, Ya Mason, Ya Fatima, please help me get out of this terrible situation. They're oppressing me. Help me get out of this jail that they put me in. Now, what's your responsibility? Do you send out an email and say, okay, I'm done? No. We are responsible now. We got to do something to help that person. We can't just say, pass the message and sleep. No. We are responsible about the outcome. That type of responsibility in Islam is like, for example, the struggle within the self, the jihad of the self. We need to fight the battle of our desires, the devils of our, the world, and say, look, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do right. I'm going to gain knowledge. I'm going to do good deeds. I'm going to struggle to get purified. And I'm responsible for the outcome. It's my responsibility. Well, this is the responsibility we as Muslims have today. We as Muslims, have been chosen for this task. Thus, we must see what is the best method of guidance for others, for our own brothers and sisters. Some people say, I'm in America, I'm in Canada, I'm in Europe, I'm in Malaysia, I'm in Indonesia, I'm in the Philippines, I'm in Singapore, I'm in Australia. What is my responsibility? I'm just going to take care of me, myself, and my family, guys. Well, we have been given the alam, the flag of Islam. We are the ambassador of this religion, and we've been placed where there's hundreds of millions around us, that we abandon each other. We don't care for another human being. We see a guy about to fall in a hole. We don't even tell him there's a hole in front of you. Now God is going to tell me, wait a second. I gave you the truth, the haqq, the followers of ahlul-bayt, and you saw the truth and you didn't do a thing? Well, I go to work. I can't talk about God. Yes, you can. Every Friday, you say, thank God it's Friday. He says, yeah, TGIF, man. We were in Europe. No one talks about God. I'm telling you, nobody. I was shocked. And so I'm at work, and I used to try to figure out, how do I talk about God? Because you know what? Once I did, and they complained to human resources. They said, this guy's a fanatic, man. Well, I am infatuated. I'm fanatically in love with God. I remember the guy taught me, I have to say how much I love him. But I have to be smart. They got angry with me because on Christmas, everybody gave gifts, right? Well, for us, at that time, Christmas was Eid al-Adha. So, well, and we're covering the Middle East for this. My job was to cover the Middle East. So I said, what do I give to people that can gain knowledge of the people of the Middle East? So let me give them all Qurans. Oh my God, they complained. I don't even want to tell you who, but there's a guy from Lebanon who complained the most. Oh my God. He wasn't Muslim, but anyway, he complained the most. So I said, okay, I have to have tact, because I need to teach, and I need to learn, I need to benefit. So there's this one person in front of me at work, and I say to this person, you guys speak French? My French is very bad, but I said, Dieu merci, c'est vendredi. I said to the person, thank God it's Friday. And the person said, yeah, great, thank God it's Friday, TGIF. They don't even say thank God it's Friday, TGIF. I said, now I got it. This person's saying, thank God it's Friday, good. We started talking, and the subject of oppression of the job, the career, the sadness that the person is going through. I said, let me tell you something. You know why I feel happy? Because God helps. Pray. This person says, okay, I know we don't talk about God, so don't say anything in front of these other people. I don't want them to hear. This person prayed, and the person got her promotion, got her success, moved on with her career, and alhamdulillah, she says, you know what? I didn't believe before, you know that? I didn't want to tell you. But after you bugged me, put a little wood in the fire, you got me. I woke up and I started to pray, and I cannot thank God enough. And I know God exists. And He's helped me. And I cannot stop. We have that responsibility, brothers and sisters. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job. But at the same time, I'm trying. And just at the same time, you brothers and sisters are trying with your friends in school, with your teachers in school, with your friends at work, with the guy on the street, with this lady that you give your seat to at the bus. We need to teach. We need to guide. Okay, so we have so much responsibility. We have so much to do. There's an ayat of Quran, O you who possess true faith. I think we do, right? We have the truth. Save yourselves and your families from the fire of hell, whose fuel is that of mankind and stones. He's saying, look, you have true faith, protect yourself and the people around you. Do something. Stop the problems of the world. So the first thing is, we need to think about how we can help others, help each other. We need to be able to take the knowledge of Quran and share it. So call others. The ahlul-bayt have always taught us this, how to practice this. But this ayat, remember when we covered Najm Balagha, how Imam Ali taught us how to speak to others? The ayat of Quran, chapter 16, verse 125. Call others to the path of your Lord through wisdom, hikmah. Use wisdom when you talk to people. Intelligent, reasoning. Don't give them funny fairy tales. Show them what's logical. And good exhortation. Maw'idah. and discuss with them in the best of possible manners. Okay, so now, hikmah, inviting people by using logic. We're living in a time that people says, look, it's illogical to me, don't give me these fairy tales. Tell me the truth. Make me understand 1 plus 1 is 2. Don't tell me it's 3, okay? This is why the Christian faith, unfortunately, they have good intentions, but they say, look, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. That's God, right? 3 and 1, 1 and 3. The Christians are saying, look, illogical. You guys, you're smoking some funny stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, the Christians are challenging their faith. And then when they see their priests are molesting children, this is, wait a second. You're telling men and women not to get married? Who taught you that? Prophet Abraham, he got married actually to 2 wives. Moses had a wife. Noah had a wife. Prophet Lut, all the prophets had wives. Where do you get this idea? Man can't marry, women can't marry. It's illogical. We have instinct. I mean, I had my professor when I was in my undergrad. He had told me, he's a priest, a Catholic priest. He says, let me tell you something. And we were having discussions about religion. And he says, let me tell you something. You know how many men of the priests and the women of the nunnery are celibate? He said 2%. 98%, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something, okay? I was shocked. I says, well, I just pray they're not doing something harmful. Because you hear crazy stories of buried children under churches after they rebuild them. I don't want that to be happening anymore. Look, logic. Use your reason. So the Quran is saying, talk to people with wisdom, guys. With hikmah. Now, you can only talk to specific people like this. Some people cannot understand hikmah. You can't speak to them with logic and deciphering knowledge. They won't understand you. They say, look, you're way too high. You talk about infinity to me. I can't even understand finite world. How are you going to talk to me infinity? Okay. Then the Quran says, with this word, maw'idah. What is maw'idah? Do you remember?
Exhortation. Good advice.
Good advice. But you speak to people heart to heart. You speak to people passionately. In the Battle of Siffin, when Imam Ali told the companions who were feeling sad that the Muawiyah's army had blockaded the water, he says, don't worry about it. You're going to allow yourself to be humbled? You rival the people using maw'idah with hikmah, and they just took back the water. And they didn't do what Muawiyah's army did. They shared the water. This is logic. Water is a right of every human being. Of course the enemy can have water. At the same time, what do we see in Karbala? They blocked some of the water from reaching the children. Where was wisdom there? So maw'idah, talk with the heart to people. That's where you sometimes give examples, some stories, some analogies. This is where you can really shake people when you get to talk to people. And then people of hikmah, you use your brain and thinking. There's people of different levels, and you need to talk to the people at their levels. Now, what was the method of the prophets? How did the prophets do it? Because they were with so much knowledge. They had yaqeen, certainty. That's why we say prophets were sinless, because they saw the truth. They had intellect. They had just the ability to see something wrong and say, I will never touch that sin. Forget it. That's going to hurt me. It's like jumping off a cliff. I'm not going to do that. And when they saw good, they just gravitated toward doing good. They never did anything, even makruh. They never did. Not even mubah. They always did good. The things of tawah. Never touched haram, for sure. They never sinned. So what did they do when they met people? Because they met people of different levels. But their knowledge was mind-boggling. What do you think they did? Anyone gives me an idea? They spoke to the people to the level of their intellect. So one of the beautiful signs of the prophets, they spoke every single language on this earth. So not only in the level of people understanding, into the language, even to the level of their slang of people, of the little towns they're from. Okay, I can be from the South Bronx. How am I going to speak? Yo, man, what's up, B? Yeah, okay, sounds good. I don't know how to go past that, but okay, at least I know how to speak to them. Now I go to Jamaica. How do they speak? Anybody can speak Jamaican? Or I go to China. I have no idea. So what we need to do is learn the language of the youth, of each other, of our parents, of our friends. We're coming to speak English. We go on TV. And it says, talk to us about Islam. They get this guy who has the worst accent in the world. And he says, kill everybody, you know, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. What the heck is this guy talking about? This guy's a fool. But they're the ones they want to be on TV. The ones to teach Islam. Because these are the guys that makes Islam look bad. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the practice. And they don't have the purity. So they put those guys in front. So we have to be the examples of ahlul-bayt in this world. Examples of the prophets. So the prophets, when they spoke with wisdom. They spoke with mu'widah. They spoke to the levels of people, to their yaqeen, their understanding. One day, the Prophet ahlul-bayt were speaking to some people. And I give you the gist of the story. Someone asked about lying, and he gave one answer. Another person asked about lying, gave another answer. Another answer came about lying, and gave another answer. Everybody got a different answer. And they said, well, the companion says, what is going on here? Well, we're giving the answers to the level that they can handle, they can understand. You cannot come here and say to people, you know what? A lot of the stories of Karbala did not happen. They'll kill you, you know that? They'll grab you off this mimbar and drag you down this. Don't you ever say that. There was a lady here in town this week. She went to India. They grabbed her from the mimbar and pulled her down. Just get out of the country. They almost put her in jail. Because she said, look, some of the acts that you're doing, they're not Muslim Islamic acts. Where'd you get it from? They seem to be like paganistic. Oh, they got angry with her. So sometimes when you speak the truth, give it to the people to the level they can handle. And once they become educated, then you go deeper and deeper. So be careful how you say it. Now, who are the best students of the philosophers? Who is the best student of Socrates? Plato. Who is the best student of Plato? Aristotle. Good. Yeah, that makes sense. Who are the best students of the prophets and ahlul-bayt? You. You don't have to be the student living at the time of that person. I'll give you an example. There was knowledge given to the companions. What did they do? They took the information. They could not understand it. But they passed it on to generation and generation. They wrote down the hadith. They understood the Quran to the level they can handle. And they passed, for example, of Tawheed. Understanding Tawheed, the oneness of God, it's mind-boggling. People will start taking the attributes, thinking that that's God, and they say, well, what about God's essence? God being infinite? I cannot understand infinity. I'm finite, right? Forget it. The example of Tawheed, people couldn't understanding it during 1400 years ago, the way we do today. Today we can understand infinity, we can understand the universe is expanding, we can understand science, we can understand what happens to a child in the womb of the mother, all that, no problem. Say those stories 1,000 years ago, and people are going to say, what did you just say? I don't understand that. But it's the truth. Let's pass it on, right? So the prophets say, may Allah assist that servant who hears my words, understands them, and then conveys to those who have not been informed of them. The prophet said, it's a blessing to get the knowledge of the prophet and to pass it on. Then there's another saying, may Allah show kindness to the servant who hears my words. So we need to gain that knowledge. Let's hear it. The Prophet has also said, how possible is it that sometimes a person possesses a deep understanding of the religion, whereas he himself is not a scholar? He's not a faqih. He's not one who's firmly grounded with Islamic sciences and knowledge. And how possible is it that sometimes one should transfer his knowledge to another person, but that other person is actually more knowledgeable than the person transferring the knowledge? Okay, that's beautiful. That means that, can you imagine, the people who transfer the knowledge to others, the others are more knowledgeable than them. They're the teachers, but they're receiving the knowledge, and the people who are receiving the knowledge are even more knowledgeable than the person giving them the knowledge. That's my example. You guys are much more knowledgeable than me. I'm giving you the information from the book, but I see that you guys have much more knowledge and yaqeen understanding. The Prophet is saying, this is an example of those where the hadith were passed on. They were given the information, they couldn't understand it to the level that they should, but they passed it on to students who understood it more than them. And we have great examples of this. So many great examples. One example, ilm usul, the knowledge of jurisprudence. If you look at it, the companions of the noble prophet, do you think they understood all the rules of Islam like Al-Mahili or Mahakil al-Hili? No way. These guys were geniuses in their time of understanding jurisprudence, the laws of Islam. Mind-boggling. But during the time of the Prophet, during the companions of the ahlul-bayt, they didn't have the level of intellect, but they passed on the knowledge. So do you see where we're entering the time zone? It's like you take a point in time and you start going one direction, another point going another. Eventually, we've reached a level of knowledge, of understanding, and of logic in today's time that it's mind-boggling. So the future, the people of the future are worthy of receiving the Quran today and saying, wait a second, it doesn't say beat your family and children Quran. Where did you get this idea? In the past, maybe they just said, yeah, okay, that sounds nice. Bad translation, but let's move it on. No, today people are saying, wait a second, this is oppression. This is injustice. I'm not going to follow this. So there's problems where people say, forget this religion, but no, we got to say, let's decipher, let's get the truth out in real understanding. Okay, the generation of the youth. What's our mindset? What's the generation, you guys, what's your mindset today? When you talk about youth, some people think it's age. It's not about age. I talked about that. Rather, the aim is to speak to the level of the group of people due to their understanding of their studies, that they're entering new civilizations and have developed a specific way of thought and intellect. That's youth. That's true believers. Whose level of intellect is understanding, taking, deciphering. That's what you brothers and sisters are, man. You guys are at a level that you can take information, and some of you are half my age, and you're taking information and says, look at that. How beautiful that is. And now you're deciphering it, and you're practicing it, and you're living it, and the purity is blossoming from the fragrance of the light of your face. Alhamdulillah. So that's the generation today. But if you look at parents, the way parents look at the kids, these kids, they don't know what they're talking about. All they're worried about is satisfying their desires. The young people says, oh, these guys are dinosaurs, man. They're talking, like stuff that people don't even write in books anymore. What are they talking about? They're ancient people. What are they doing? So there's a clash, and it's happening in the masjids. Because you say, well, who runs the masjids? Well, the old guys. Okay. So what are they sending you? They're bringing the stuff they like. Well, you're in a masjid here that you're talking things that are your level, your generation, so that's not true. We have to break that stereotype. Generally speaking, in parents' eyes, the younger generation is simply a generation of people who are infatuated with themselves, and they merely are after their lower desires. That's probably true when you look at teenagers, all they're saying is, okay, I just hit puberty, and my God, my desires are going crazy. You learn to control those desires and say, wait a second, there's more to that. The Messenger of Allah has said, there is nothing more beloved to Allah than a young person who repents after does sins. And he says, astaghfirullah, Allah, I just made a mistake. Please forgive me. I don't know why I did that. And there is nothing more detested in the sight of Allah than an old person who perpetuates disobeying Him. So when you listen to this hadith, you say, wait a second. The Prophet loves that we say, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm sorry, Allah. Forgive me. I'm going to do right now. There's no way I'm going to go now I'm going to look at sin in its eye and says, I'm going to do right. I'm never going to do that again. Well, what's worse is those who are very old and they still go to the masjid. You see those children? They're crazy. They're doing haram. And look at this girl. She went out with that boy. I saw him in the mall, in the movie theater. And that's his sister. What are you talking about? Oh, anyway, it's not right, brother and sister. What are these stories? They're gossiping, ghibah. I don't even know some of the stories. I just try to move away when I hear stuff like this. Okay, that's nice. All right. The Messenger of Allah has also said, surely Allah, the High, boasts to the angels. He praises, he's very happy to the angels. And he regards that a young person who is the servant, his servant, and he says, look at my servant. The Prophet's talking about Allah. He says, look at my servant. Allah is talking to the angels. He says, look at my servant. Look at my creation. He has refrained from his lowly, excessive desires for my sake alone. He has not, done haram because for me. He said, wait a second. I looked at sin in the eye and said, I'm going to do right. There's no way I'm going to touch that wrong. That's what Allah is praising. Look at that servant who saw that and says, there's no way I'm going to do that. So, what do we have to do? Today we have to become scholars for the time we're living in. So some of the guys says, well, when I talk to my parents, they don't know what I'm talking about. What do you mean? Well, I'm talking about Modern Warfare. What is the game you guys play? Modern Warfare 3. They don't want me to get it because they think it's a violent game. Okay. What do they do? Well, they play chess. Oh, isn't that violent too? It's the same concept at different levels. They don't understand me. Oh, you know what? They want me to come to masjid and recite "Let me" in Arabic. I don't speak Arabic, guys. Or they want me to speak in Urdu. I don't speak it. I speak English. I don't know what they're talking about. Well, what do you prefer? I prefer to listen to Rihanna and there's all these singers. All right. So you need to understand what's being bombarded to these people. Because what are these people listening to? What their friends say to them. This is, oh, I found love in the worst place. I don't know what they talk about. Funny stories. So we need to say, okay, what do you need to do? Gain knowledge of the time you're living in, guys. I told you an example of Khomeini was confronted by the disease of haram that's being spread in the world and of pornography. He says, we know what this nonsense is. There's no way we're going to allow this stuff in this country. Though they're broadcasting it for free now with the satellite dishes. It doesn't happen free here, but it gets free, it comes to Iran because the outside world wants them to be misguided of the danger. If you look at this, the worst sins of humanity is stuff like that. Pornography. My God, you don't know how bad it is. The worst criminals, they did an interview. They says, you know what made me like this? I used to watch this nonsense. And I'm telling you, tell your kids, don't touch it. It's a $9,600 billion industry. There's no way they're going to stop it now. We need to say, no, that's not right. Block it. I'm so glad now that people are finding out all these horrible pedophiles are looking at these pictures. They're going to get justice. You're going to see the truth. And no more of this oppression. We've got to stop this human trafficking. Okay. So we need to gain knowledge of the time. Imam Jafar Sadiq has said, the person who is fully aware of the time he's living in will never be overcome with bewilderment of confusions, of attacks. The hadith of the Imam has told us that a person is fully aware of his surroundings. They know what's going on around you. You know what the youth are going through. You know what the adults are going through. You know the problems of financial situations your parents are going through. You don't know. You understand that, look, I am wanting a nice new car, but my parents can't even afford the rent. Am I selfish? I remember this one kid many years ago. He always wanted a remote control car. You know that? Those ones that you don't have a wire. So his parents couldn't afford it. Now I see him, his house is filled with remote control cars. I said, what are you doing? My father didn't buy me these stuff, but now I can afford it. And I appreciated my father tried, but I couldn't. I said, this guy's nice. And he keeps giving my kids a remote control car every year for Eid. I said, okay. That's nice of him. But he understood that his father couldn't buy the stuff he needed. His father worked in a bakery. His mother was working in a factory. They struggled so that children could eat, could survive, that they can get educated. We need to appreciate our families. So Imam Jafar Sadiq is saying that those who become familiar with their surroundings, then they will never fall prey of victim, of confusion, of bewilderment of those things around them. Just that when the time he looks and he forgets even his own hands and feet, and he is not able to make use of his own strength and energy, nor is able to gather together his thoughts to solve the problem. This is a beautiful saying. If you think about it, the person who does not use his intellect will not be successful, and who does not have any knowledge will not achieve intellect. So if you don't gain the knowledge, you'll never become intellectual. You never get reasoning. If you don't know what's happening to the youth of this school, go to universities, forget about even temporary marriage. Everybody's dating. Everybody. 10 dates a week, different people. You don't know what happens to the youth. They're being bombarded. And then they turn on TV, every channel, you don't realize how bad it is. I don't know how it happened, but thank God we don't have cable TV. Alhamdulillah. I think my family agreed after we lived in Europe. You turn on TV at night in Europe, everything is nudity. So when you see that, my God, throw this TV out the door, Now we can watch what we want to watch. Go online, anything you want, it's there. But you choose what you want. And then you can fast forward whatever you want. Avoid the things that can be harmful for you. You don't have to live in the sin, but you have to be aware of it. You have to understand what people are going through. Okay, so this means that whoever understands something, then his outcome will be that. He possesses a virtuous, honorable character, since the outcome of a treasure is priceless. So we need to understand the danger of society, and the outcome is we'll be protected from that problem, from that danger. You know, when you look at people or investors, they say, wait, look at these high-tech dot-coms in 1999. These companies have no earnings, but they're flying like crazy. Well, they understood that was garbage, don't touch it, and when it crashed, they didn't lose a penny, so I didn't get hurt. You know, in the 1700s, there was a big craze of tulips. People were buying tulips. Oh, tulips, it's worth a lot of money. They don't realize it dies in a few months, in a few weeks. They started paying thousands of dollars for tulips. And then they realized, wait a second, this is a big bubble, and it crashed, and the prices crashed, and people lost everything. But if you're aware this is nonsense, you're aware I'm not going to go this direction. You're aware, look, Yazid's army, they have the money, but there's no way I'm going to go that direction. I want to go the side of haqq, of the truth. And if that means I'm going to have to die going that direction, I'll go that direction, because that's the truth. I need to stand up for justice. I'm not going to go the wrong direction. So what must be done now? Today, the generations is different in its methods. I'm telling you, the people of today, okay, when I was young, things have changed. Things even have changed now that when I speak to people, no one talks anymore. Do you know that? When you were young, you talked to people a lot. Today, everything is text. Everything is email. Everything is, Facebook me. Oh, I don't have Facebook. Oh, you're a dinosaur. Well, I don't want the CIA to know everything about my friends and family. Oh, okay, that's nice. Well, anyway, then send me an email. So it's funny. You have to understand the times we're living in. If you don't know how to turn on a computer, my God, you're the oldest dinosaur on Earth. You know, unfortunately, it's happening. What, an iPhone 4.5 or 5 or 6? I mean, what's going on? BlackBerry, Torch? People don't know technology, they're going to fall behind in the ages. Oh, you can't even watch a lecture online anymore because I don't know how to turn on YouTube. I mean, what's going on? So we need to know the techniques of our time. First of all, we must fully understand the younger generation. Look, we need to know what's going to happen to these guys. The peer pressure, the dangers of drugs. You know, this brother came last week. He did a lecture Saturday night about substance abuse. And I'm thinking, well, is that applicable? Oh, yes, it is. I'm telling you, people think, oh, it's not alcohol? I can smoke it. That's okay. I can sniff it. It's like medicine, right? Pop a lot of pills, medicine. These guys are getting intoxicated, they're falling, getting high, and stuff that's ecstasy, even past ecstasy. You don't know what the drugs are called anymore today. So, okay, I don't need to taste it, but at least I need to be aware of it, the dangers of it. Okay, so what needs to be done now? We have to don't be insensitive of what the youth are going through. If your brother, young brother or sister, or your parent is coming to you and talking to you, leave me alone, I have things to do. No. Listen, you have 2 ears. Listen twice as much as you talk. Okay, let's look at the things that are going on. The books that they're seeing, you cannot give them the old-fashioned books anymore. They need to know what's going on. They need to be understanding with a passion. They need to be inspired. You bring a speaker who barely speaks English, they're going to fall asleep and say, forget it. We were in the masjid on Thursday night, and all these youth had come. He says, all right, alhamdulillah, last lecture in English. And they brought out a Maulana, a sheikh, he started speaking in Urdu. Oh my God, all these youth says, forget this. They just walked out. They had to put it on the big screen. Wait a second, English is after Urdu. Oh, okay, call me when I'm in the car. Text me, Facebook me when I'm in the car. Okay, so the older generation thinks that the group has fallen into disbelief and that they are plunging in sin, and the new generation think that the old generation is simple-minded, ignorant. Let's look at Quran. Let me tell you, all the answers are in Quran. Anyone has read chapter 46? Ahqaf? Oh my God, this is beautiful. You're going to say, wow, that's like the 21st century. That's happening now when you listen to this story. Chapter 46, verse 15. Allah says, and we have enjoined on mankind kindness to his parents. Look what Allah says. Yes, worship me, but show kindness to your parents. No matter what they say to you, they bug you, they nag you, show kindness to them. The suffering they've done to feed you, You don't realize they've come to this country, they take jobs, Tim Hortons or McDonald's, just so you eat. One brother was telling me he came to America and he was making like $1 or $2 an hour carrying heavy steel rods in a factory. This guy's 100 pounds and he was carrying 50 pounds, 100 pounds. I don't know how he did it. He said, look, I needed to feed my kids and I didn't know what to do and I had to. He did it for 3-4 months and eventually found something better. But what our parents have gone through, look, never say oof to them, never be ungrateful, thank them. And when they get older, laugh with them, smile with them, joke with them. But Allah says, and we have enjoined mankind to be kind to his parents. In pain did his mother bear him. In pain. If you ever see your mothers when they were pregnant, for your other brothers and sisters, oh my God, you can't even imagine. Or your parents, or your grandparents, what they've gone through, or your wife, or your spouse, or your sister, you see what they go through? The pain that a mother bears, I don't know how they forget, because then they have another child. Alhamdulillah, it's a miracle of God. Allah says, in pain did his mother bear him and her. In pain she gave them birth. The carrying of a child to his weaning to a period of 30 months. We say 30 months? There are only 9 months in the stomach. Yeah, but who breastfed you after? I wish the children of Karbala had their mothers to feed them when they were dying of thirst. They didn't even have milk to give their children. Can you imagine seeing your children dying with no ability to even give them milk? Anyway, your parents weaned you for 30 months. At length, when the child reaches of an age, and the age is of full strength and attains 40 years, when they get to 40 years old, the Quran is saying, they say this dua. Some of you have seen this dua of Quran. Let me just read it to you in Arabic. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbi awzidni an ashkuru ni'matika allati an'amta alayya wa ala walidayya wa an amila salihan tarda wa aslih li fi duriyati inni tubtu ilayka wa inni minal muslimin. Wow, that's such a beautiful ayat. If you know the meaning, you're saying to Allah, when you reach the age of 40, you say to Allah, oh my Lord, grant me that I may be grateful for the favors that you have bestowed upon me and upon my parents, that I may work righteousness such that you may be approving of it. Oh Allah, make me do good in this world before I leave. And be gracious to me through my family, my generations. Be kind to me. Truly I turn to you and I am truly one of the Muslims. Now this, you look at this dua, there's 5 points that you have to pay attention to that this dua said. The first one, the first characteristic is that of a soul that is thankful. An ashkuru ni'matika allati. Make me thankful for what you've given me. Because if you're not grateful, you're doing kufr. Ungratefulness is one of the signs of an unbeliever. We covered that in Surah Baqarah. So, where you say, oh my Lord, grant me that I may be grateful for your favors. Such a person looks at the blessings of Allah and has given to both of them, his mother and father, and in previous generations, then he says, oh Allah, give me the strength to be able to discern the truth, that I realize the true truth, true worth. Give me the strength to be able to make the best use of the blessing that you showered upon me. To be thankful, guys. What we've been given of Islam today, the religion of God, the ahlul-bayt had to die for us, the Prophet had to die for us, the prophets of the past have died for us. Prophet Yahya, his head was chopped off so we can have this religion today. Prophet Ibrahim, what he went through, they threw him in the fire. Oh my God. Till Imam Hussein in Karbala, till Imam Mahdi in our time, what he's going through, we can't even imagine what he's seeing, the injustice. Number 2, we pray to Allah that He should give us the ability to perform the actions He's pleased with. So first, be thankful. Second, the ayat is, and that I may work righteousness that you approve, that I need to do good work. So I need to be thankful, I need to do righteous, do good work. Number 3, the prayer continues, and be gracious to me through my progeny. That if I have children, then be gracious to me through them. For the goodness of the righteousness is that you are fully attentive of the next generation. See, he's worried about the next generation. This person is doing this prayer. The fourth thing, permit me to turn back towards you, Allah, for my mistakes, slips, shortcomings from the past. Truly, the ayat was, truly I've turned to you. I've returned to you. Tawbah. The fifth and final part of this prayer is, truly we are Muslims. Truly I am of the Muslims, Muslimin. Where you're saying, this verse is saying that we ask to be granted the state of submission to the truth. I want to be awake. I want to see the truth. Make me a Muslim. And those things which Allah has specified for us in relation to this natural world and Islamic legislation. Let me understand this faith. Now, the next ayat is very beautiful. It says, in relation to this generation mentioned above, and you know what the scholars have said, this is Imam Hussein talking. If you look at this ayat, did he live this ayat? He talked about the future generations. He talked about working righteousness. He talked about be kind to my parents. This is an example of ahlul-bayt. The beautiful ayats of Quran are examples of Imam Hussein. So if you look at the next ayat, Allah says, these are they from whom we have accepted best of what they have done and pass over their evil deeds. We pass over their mistakes. Amongst the dwellers of the garden. Remember the dwellers of the garden in the beginning of Surah Baqarah I talked about? These people who behave like this, they're the dwellers of the garden. The promise of truth which they were promised. Now if you look into the word, it doesn't say in the individual. It says that they, we, it's in the plural. It's talking about all of us. We cannot think individualistic anymore. You have to think in the plural of humanity, humanitarian, of society, of community, of the Jama'ah. However, the next verse is a slap to all of us children of our parents. All of us is a slap. And this is like you're watching a soap opera sometimes. Look into the next verse. But, this is verse 17, chapter 46. But there is one who says to his parents, "Off! Woe to you! Get away, Mom. Come on. Leave me alone. Back off. Come on. You're dreaming. Get out of here." To your parents, "Dad, come on, man. Leave me alone. Get out of here." These people, Allah is saying, they say, "Woe to you," to their parents. And they say, "Do you hold out the promise to me that I shall be raised up even though generations have passed before me?" Look, man, you telling me I'm going to be judged, Dad? Leave me alone. Oh, how many billions of people have died? They're not even raised up. There's no zombies today. Come on, this day of judgment nonsense. Leave me alone. They're saying these are like stories of ancients, they're fairy tales, man. What are you telling me, Mom? And the two of them, the parents, the mother and father, they seek Allah's aid. This is ayat of 17. And they seek Allah's aid, and they say, they pray for their son. They say to their son, "Woe to you. Have faith in the promise of Allah. It's true. You don't believe me. You don't understand. I'm telling you, I lived a whole life, and I've seen the miracles of Allah. I've seen the truth. I've seen the logic. I've understood. And I'm telling you, don't be asleep right now. Wake up that you are going to be accountable for what you do." But he says, "This is nothing of the stories of the ancients, Dad. Come on, leave me alone." You don't realize we're like that with our parents all the time. We say to our dad, "Come on." I give you an example. The guy is 70 years old and he's telling me what his greatest moment in his life, his most greatest accomplishment, that he loves Allah. He loves God and he's appreciative and thankful for what he's given him. Not to say, "Look what I've done, this and that." He's appreciative of who gave him everything. And an arrogant, perplexed generation would learn a few things from this and would not believe in anything else that they hear. Thus they would cease being servants of God. So we have to be careful that we don't want to stop being the servants of God who've given us everything. They would say to the parents, "Woe to you." "Oof." You say to your parents, "Come on, man, Mom, get out of here." I remember I was in 6th grade. This one guy used to curse at his mother. Every FSL word you could think. I don't even know what words it was coming out of his mouth. He used to even say it in Italian. I don't even want to tell you what the words he was saying. And we learned what the words were. Like, oh my God, what is he telling his mother? And then we went to visit his house. His mother ruled him like with a stick. I said, okay, that boy deserved that. Anyway, beating her on. Okay. So, do you hold out the promise to me that I shall be raised up? Such a generation. Do you expect me to believe that there is another world after the one that's already come? This is like, come on, I don't believe this stuff. The father and mother are so religious. They say, wake up, and they don't know how to speak to their kids anymore. They're talking about, well, Imam Hussein, Karbala, Alam, Zulfikar, the wars. Who cares about the wars, Dad? Come on, I don't want to hear that story anymore. See, they don't know how to speak to their kids. So you may say, well, it's not the kids' fault, it's the parents' fault. Well, I think it's all our faults. Because we need to know how to understand the religion, teach each other, talk to each other. Come on. So this ayat of Quran is very important because Allah is saying, wait a second, you could be that child who's disobeying Allah. And you begin to disobey God. We're living in a time people become atheists. I'm telling you, and I said this before. What causes people to go through become atheists? It's amazing what's happening. First, we need to understand what's happening to the younger generation. I talked about what they go through, what happens in the doors of their neighbors. They look at internet, they go on CNN, and they go on they see today we're living in a time knowledge is exposed, the truth is exposed. So in the past, the foreign invaders of countries will expose the truth. People say, look, I don't want to understand this stuff. Dad, you're telling me to be like an old-fashioned hermit. I don't want to do that anymore. I need to be a logical thing. I need to think the future. Today in the internet, everybody has the truth. I met this one boy, had 50 million hits. And he exposed the problems of injustice. He talked about Illuminati and all these things, but he was exposing the dangers of the media, of society, of the world. This guy was 12 years old. I said, this guy is 12 years old, and he was doing things like 13 years old. Impressive. So today, people are able to see the whole world in the click of an enter key, in a touching of a touchpad. The truth is exposed. So we cannot make believe there's stories of ancients. And then when you go to the countries where you're from, if you go to Iran or you go to Iraq or you go to Africa or you go to South America, you go to all these countries, they say, wait a second, look at Japan. One of the greatest economies on the earth. They're crumbling, but they're going through a lot of problems. But look, didn't they worship idols? If you go to some of their temples, they have these big idols. Scary sometimes. But they're more progressive than us economically. What's going on? They have so much. Oh, everybody puts down America and Canada, but look at that, they're rising. Well, the Muslim countries are still declining in economics, in knowledge, in understanding of the truth. They say, well, look at India and China. They worship idols in India, right? They're progressing. They're becoming one of the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China. They're becoming one of the most powerful countries in the world. And the youth are saying, we can't handle this anymore. So we have a right to question. And we as Muslims, we have the truth, we have the knowledge. So, do we have the right to question? Today, you bring a child, 10 years old, goes to listen to a lecture, and someone's on the minbar, the speaker comes and they say, okay, this is a mistake, that ayat of Quran was wrong, this is a mistake, this story is a fake hadith, this is weak. I was in the masjid last week, and the guy gave some funny hadith, he said, look, that's a fairy tale, that's impossible. Ahlul-bayt are infallible. How could he say the prophets and the imams made mistakes? He just made a mistake. Look, I'll go and tell him, I'll teach him that he made a mistake. He says, yeah, you're right, I made a mistake. So today, the youth or the age doesn't matter. The truth, the knowledge, the intellect is mind-boggling. So, why do people gravitate toward atheism? Because don't we have the truth? How come 5% they say the world is atheist? Maybe even more. Especially if you include some of the other religions. Forget about them for now, but why so many people have gravitated toward atheism? Let me give you an example. If you were starving to eat, and you're in the desert, and you see a lizard, what you gonna do? Nice Big Mac, alhamdulillah, right? Stuck for the fish kebab, You're gonna say, wait a second, I'll eat anything. In Islam, when your life's in danger and you're dying of thirst or hunger, you can even eat pig, they say. Yeah, you can. This is Islamic rules. When your life's in danger, when you're starving, you look at, anybody saw that Madagascar? It's funny, right? When that lion, he saw his zebra friend, oh man, that looks like a steak. So, when someone's starving, hungry, they'll grab anything and eat it. What about the soul that's starving? What about the intellect that's starving for the truth? They just grab anything that sounds nice. And then they say, well, what about logic? Illogical, guys. You're saying God doesn't exist? Impossible. What about the Big Bang? Well, yeah, I believe in the Big Bang, but God doesn't exist. Well, don't you need someone, the first cause of the Big Bang? Okay, well, yeah, you're right. Something had to cause it. So who's that cause? That's God. Oh, okay, yeah. But anyway, I don't believe in God. So you start bringing logic to atheists, you blow them away, I'm telling you. Basic common sense, you go to a Christian and says, Jesus is not God. Yes, he is. He's God, infinite God. He says, infinity? How could God walk on earth if he's infinite? You're limiting him to time and space. Oh yeah, you're right. People are waking up now. So when you're hungry for anything, you grab it. And so I'm seeing youth, they look at, it's amazing. They fall in love with people. They idolize them. I was watching this one guy, his name is Zayn Malik or something, First Dimensions, and he's so handsome, and the girls are going crazy. Well, you're looking at a Muslim, or you're looking at, just because his name is Muslim, but you don't know what he's doing. I don't know, maybe the guy's a nice guy. Watch out who we grab as friends. We don't know what they're up to. Some people idolize basketball players and they end up cheating on their wives, gambling. We idolize football players and you see they're in jail and they're stuck doing haram things. Use your mind. Decipher the truth. You see something, look, that behavior, I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to behave like that. Unfortunately, the young minds are just wanting something so badly. The world is crying for Imam Mahdi, I'm telling you. The world is crying for it. People are protesting. Corporate America is a joke. Oklahoma, everywhere the people are rising, they're protesting. These are signs of Imam Mahdi coming. So people are gravitating toward atheism because they don't know what else to grab. Well, we need to share the truth, guys. Remember I said we are responsible for the world, for our flock. We have to teach. So one of the main problems why we've gotten lost, and sometimes we go to fairy tales and funny stories. What's the main thing that we forgot? What did the Prophet come to give us? What did he live for? What did he die for? Allah, yeah, but what did Allah give us? What is the greatest miracle of all mankind? The Quran, guys. Quran. Some people say, that book's boring. I can't handle it. That's because we don't take our time to contemplate. Look at the story I just told you. It's like amazing how parents and children are fighting with each other. And it's like a discussion in Quran. There's so much knowledge. If you understood the Quran, you would have the knowledge of science that blown people's minds away. Einstein just figured it out a couple hundred years ago. The universe is expanding. The Quran was talking about it 1,400 years ago. Well, even if you go further than that, the truth is there. So, who do we blame? How much your parents know about Quran? Oh, they know Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha. Okay. How many? What? That's it? Yeah, they could read nice. What does it mean? I don't know. They don't know. So the older generation abandoned Quran. Many generations have abandoned Quran. Now what's going to happen to the new generation? Quran, forget it. I'd rather watch that, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or American Idol or something. I'd rather watch something else. Well, what needs to be done? First, we have to go back to Quran and ahlul-bayt. Because the ahlul-bayt are the teachers of Quran. The ahlul-bayt, the Prophet, are the ones who guided us to Allah's words. They showed us the truth. So we need to go back to them. And for the youth, what do we need to do? We need to talk to them and make them understand that, wait a second, I understand your problems now. Now I know what you're going through. That those guys in school, they're bugging you, they keep asking you out on dates, and we know that all your friends are pushing like this, and we don't understand the music you're going through, and the television you're going through, and the problems, the financial distress that I'm causing to you, that you want to wear nice clothes, but everybody else laughs at you because you have funny clothes. You're wearing my grandfather's suit. I understand. I know what you're going through. When we understand what the youth are going through, now we can sit down with them and say, okay, let's find a solution. Don't make a mistake and throw away your life for one mistake. Be careful. So if we can go back to sitting down and thinking and listening and contemplating, now when we watch our young friends of every generation, every color, every background, we say, look, they're my brothers and sisters, man. My parents are talking ancient, said, I must marry this background, that background, but look, I want to marry a good Muslim. And then sit down with your parents and make them understand. If you make your parents understand, you can say, you're right. What's more important is a true believer. And the way to become a true believer is to follow the Quran and the Prophet and ahlul-bayt. Now I want to show you an example. Because we're at a time of Muharram, and there's a lot of stories that are like fairy tales. But I want to tell you a story of the youth of Sayyid al-Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. I want to show you the youth of Imam Hussein in Karbala. There's the greatest of youth you can imagine. One was Muslim bin Osija. Guess how old he was? 80. One was Qasim bin Hassan. How old was he? 13. Age doesn't matter. Those were the youth of paradise. Well, there's an ayat of Quran, chapter 5, verse 13. Now pay attention. Allah says, so for their breaking their compact, we cursed them and made their hearts hard. They broke their promise. They broke our agreement. And Allah cursed them. They would pervert the words of their meanings. And they forgot a portion that they were reminded of. See what happens sometimes? We go to the masjids and we hear stories and the words are perverted and they're changed and then people are not saying the truth. They just want the crowd to cry. You know, one time, one sheikh went to a town and they turned off the lights and everybody started to cry like crazy because they were hearing the story of Karbala. And they turned on the lights and everybody was bleeding. He said, what happened? He said, we had to take these rocks and hit them because they're not crying. And we had to turn off the lights so they don't know where the rock is coming from. He says, why did you do that? Just tell them the truth, they'll cry. He says, no, these guys' hearts are too hard. They can't, when you talk to them, they cannot hear the truth. There's one guy, when Zakir came to the city of Tehran many years ago. And he did this big thing, and everybody's crying like crazy for what happened in Karbala. Crying like crazy. And one of the main guys says, look, why don't you give them some knowledge, some intellect, give them some logic while you have the pulpit. Say something. He says, these people can't handle the truth. I can't say anything. They have no brains. They're illogical. What are you talking about? He says, watch. Next day, he starts talking about what happened after Karbala. After Ashura, when the family were dragged with chains and made slaves and brought into the city of Kufa. And when people saw them, people started to cry. And then he started, and he says, well, calm down. Everybody's crying. Everybody's crying. He says, calm down, calm down. And he said, the youth, the children were crying. The camels were coming, and they had no saddles. And this is not true, but he just wanted to show the guy, look, the illogic. They don't even question. And they were on the saddles, but there was no saddles on the camel. And the camels were slipping on ice, and the children were hitting the ground saying, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, I'm thirsty. No one said a word. Did you hear what I just said? They slipped on ice. No one said a word. I'm saying illogical nonsense about what happened in Karbala, and no one said a word. He says, look, you want me to talk logic and truth to these people? They hear something as, yeah, that's beautiful. They don't even question. They don't even want to understand. Well, let's see the truth, what happened in Karbala. Reliable stories of Ashura was the night of Ashura, 10th night. Let's talk about what happened before the battle. Imam told them, and he wanted everyone to know, look, you are free. La ikrah fi din. There's no compulsion in religion. You don't have to be here. He says, you are free, my companions, members of my family, my sons, my nephews, every one of you, to leave without being liable for anything. You don't have to stay. He says, the enemies have nothing except they only want me. You could go. You don't have to be here. Leave me. Go. There's no compulsion. I don't want you to be here on compulsion. You're free. You have free will. And then he continued, and the night is dark. And it's in the middle of the night. He says, take advantage of this darkness, Imam Hussein is saying. And go. Depart. Go. No one's going to say anything. Go. They will definitely not stop. No one will stop you. No one will see you go. At first, he expresses his appreciation for them, and he tells them, look, I am most pleased with you. I love you, brothers and sisters. I love you. And if you want to go, go. I do not know any companions better than mine. The companions I have, the 72 companions, and the family, and the children, all the other people, there's no one better of friends than you are to me. No better relatives than my family members. I cannot thank Allah enough for these blessings that I have. But all of them, you know what they said? They all tell him in unison that such a thing was impossible. There's no way we would abandon you. There's no way. They were people of knowledge, they were people of practice and of purity. And then when you're in Karbala, in that situation, and you're pure, there's no way you would abandon your Imam of your time at that point. And that's how they were. So he says, what answer will they give? This is what they say to the Imam Hussein. What answer will I give to the Prophet? When he questions and he says, where was your loyalty? What would I say if I abandoned you? What would I say to humanity if I didn't stand up for justice and I didn't challenge the tyranny? To love and attachment? Come on. What am I going to say just to love and to attachment? What am I going to say? Their ardent responses and their words on that occasion melt the heart of a stone, and it was moving. With the way the companions of Imam was saying, what they said, and this is one of the first ones to jump up and say something, was Abul Fadl Abbas, the brother of Imam Hussein. He says, no way I will abandon you. One of them says, if one life worth is enough to be sacrificed for someone unlike you, I would sacrifice my life for you. I wish that I were brought back to life 70 times, and I will sacrifice myself again for you, and again, and again. Another says, if I were to sacrifice my life for you and my body were burnt to ashes, and the ashes were thrown in the wind, and were done to me 100 times, I will still love and die for you. I will still die for your sake. I'll still die for this religion, for the sake of Islam, that the truth will be here, that justice will prevail. The Imam changed the subject and told them about the events that's going to happen the next day. He informed them that all of them will be killed. All of them. He says, every single one of you are going to be killed. All of you. You know what they said? All of them. Receive this in great news. Alhamdulillah, they said. Thank you, Allah, that I'm going to die. Because it's worth dying if it means that truth and justice and peace will prevail. It's worth for me to die. See, what did Karbala teach us? To stand up for truth, for guidance, for practicing this religion, for gaining knowledge, for serving Allah and purifying ourselves. Well, there was a young boy who was watching the elderly men in the assembly. And they were all in the front with Imam Hussein. And he sat back, but his heart was burning. That young boy of 13 years old, and some of you are 13, I know, over here, and some of you have young children of 13, and some of you have younger brothers who are 13. Think of a 13-year-old who's watching that all his friends and family and relatives are going to be massacred the next day. And he says, look, I need to do something. And he sits there, and he sits in their midst. But reverently, he stays behind because he's respectful. He said, look, let the elder go first. Come, you come, brother. And he appears sitting behind the Imam's elderly companions and was keen to hear his words. What is Imam Hussein saying? When the Imam told them that they would all be killed the next day, this child was wondering if he too would be of those who will die the next day. A 13-year-old child is saying, my God, am I going to be one of those guys that I can sacrifice my life tomorrow too? And you may say, look, how could the people think like this? If someone attacks your home and starts butchering your parents, what are you going to do? You're going to jump in front of them and say, stop this. And if I need to die to save my parents, I will do it. Well, this young 13-year-old boy is watching his uncle, who's like his father, because his father was Imam Hassan, who was poisoned. And he's watching his uncle being alone. He's saying, my uncle, Imam Hussein, of the greatest of uncles? He goes and is thinking to himself, perhaps the Imam means that only the elderly, only the people of older generation will be martyred. I am just a minor. I'm just the new generation. I'm just the younger generation. I'm a youth. Therefore he turned to the Imam and asked him, will I be amongst those who will be killed with you? I think the Imam purposefully put this question to him because the Imam questioned him. He didn't say an answer right away. Imam Hussein goes to Qasim and says, Qasim, first question. He wanted to show that, look, the posterity that should be you're thinking of, that the youth were given his life without awareness. He wanted to be aware of his understanding. He doesn't want to, look, throw children in the battlefield. He didn't want that. He said, how much do you understand? You understand the gravitation of what's going on? The gravity of what's going on here? So the Imam says to him, I will ask you a question. I want to see what you would answer at this question. I want to see what I would answer this question. I want to know what would you say if you were asked this question. So Imam Hussein goes to his beautiful 13-year-old nephew, Qasim bin Hassan, Ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. He says, my child, my nephew, tell me, how do you regard death? What do you think about getting killed? What do you think? What do you feel? He said, quick, promptly. He said, it is sweeter to me than honey. I want to die for this religion. Am I willing to do that now? As I want to struggle and fight for this religion, that people will be treated with respect and kindness, that people who are dying without food, I can feed them. I want to struggle and guide and teach. Am I going to say what Imam, the young child said? Qasim says, death is sweeter than honey for me. I want this. And then when a group of elderly men, they saw this, they were shocked. They said, look at this guy. That is, Imam Qasim bin Hassan is saying, I haven't a desire that would be dear to me, more sweeter to me, than to help and to sacrifice to help this religion, to help the truth, to help the people who are oppressed in this world, to fight against tyranny. I don't want anything else. This is sweet for me. Dying in the way of God, if that's what it means, I will do it. This was an astounding scene. Can you imagine this young guy? He's talking like that. These are the things that have made this history so great of Karbala. All these stories, this is what is youth about. This is what the new generation is about. This example of Qasim. So it continues. And we need to keep this story alive. For there is no other than Imam Hussein, and no other like Qasim bin Hassan. They are the things that make us give so much value to this event. Is Imam Hassan, children of Qasim, Hazrat Abu Fadl Abbas, Sukaina, Ruqayya, Imam Hussein, the children, Muslim bin Osija, Zuhair bin Cain, Habib bin Mazad, those people who sacrificed their lives for us that I can eat today. He says, Imam Hussein, after getting his answer, he says to him, my nephew, you too will be killed. But your death will be different from that of the others. It will be after you have faced a great ordeal, you're going to die. According when Qasim, after much insistence, he received the permission to go to the battlefield. Let's go back to Ashura now. I know this was talked about a few days ago, but let's see what this is the book of Ashura that the scholars have put together, and they said this is what really happened. So the battle starts, and Qasim, being very young, has no armor because it's too big for him. He couldn't even wear the armor, and it wasn't fit for his age. Not even a helmet, not even shoes that would fit the armor, the boots that he would need. He didn't have it. Not even the arms and the equipment. It was too big for him. This is a young 13-year-old guy. Look at the 13-year-olds today. Can you imagine them carrying a big bazooka? They can't handle that stuff today. This is the stuff that they couldn't hold. So he wore an amama, a turban. He wore light clothing. He appeared like a piece of the moon. He shined like the moon. The boy was so handsome that when the enemy saw him, they described him as the piece of the moon. Where does the wind carry the petal of a red rose like this? When they see someone like this, where does the petal of this red rose go? And whoever saw you in your fleeting mount, the narrator says, I saw that the strap of one of his sandals was untied. And I do not forget that it was on his left foot. I looked at this little boy. He couldn't even tie his shoelace. His strap was even loose, but he was going out like a lion of God, a 13-year-old brother. He says, look, I need to defend those children who are oppressed in this world. This is a young 13-year-old saying, look, Brother Muhammad Jafar, I died for you. What are you going to do for me? Brother, you laugh or you cry, but let me tell you, this is a child who died for me. I don't know how to repay them. I have no idea. But by you being here today, what an honor that we're repaying them to gain knowledge. The battle began. He wasn't even wearing boots. They write that the Imam stood near the tents and he held the horse's reins. Evidently, he was alert and ready to go and help. At once, he heard a cry from Qasim. Ya Amma, oh my uncle, Assalamu alayk, Ya Abi Abdullah. They write that the Imam flew with his horse. On the horse, running, hunting like a falcon. He flew there. As soon as he arrived by the side of the youth, there were 200 men around Qasim. 200 men against a little child. What is he going to do? They fled. As soon as Imam Hussein came, they got scared and they ran out of there. One of the enemy's men, who had dismounted his horse, who wanted to cut the head of Qasim, actually got trampled. Sometimes they just mix up the stories, but the enemy got trampled right there because he was so stupid he would wanted to hurt the Imam's child. And he got trampled by the hoofs of the horses and the comrades. The one who was trampled to death under the hoofs of the horses was the enemy's men, not Hazrat Qasim. This is one of the truths that needs to come out. In any case, when the Imam arrived at Qasim's side, there was such dust and confusion that nobody could see what was happening. When the dust settled, the dust was all over the place. The 200 men ran out of there. Dust was flying. When the dust settled, they saw Imam sitting at Qasim's side with his head in his arms. They heard the Imam utter this sentence, my nephew, by God, it is very hard for your uncle that you should call him and he should not be able to respond, or that he should respond without being able to do anything for you. It is so hard for me to do this. I couldn't even help you. It was such a tragic moment that a cry came from the youth. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The soul, the spirit departed of this beautiful creation. Now when you look at the words of Imam Hussein, he says, I couldn't respond quickly enough to save you, Qasim. But we, as those who want to help and do good, are we going to respond to the youth who are struggling or being oppressed and just dying in this world? We need to respond.